Good afternoon. I really appreciate all of you who are here in person today, and certainly greetings to all of you who are watching online. I anticipate a very large crowd for this fantastic party that we're going to have on the quadrangle. It's great weather, we have great food, we have great music. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the state of the school. And I'd like to thank a few critical members of my team, including my spectacular Chief of Staff, Jen Ryan, with whom I could not survive without. Fabulous help from Zoe Spearman and Lauren Hesht, a number of others who have put together this really fantastic celebration today. So thank all of them. Now, in last year's speech, I talked about the many people who embody Harvard Medical School, who define its values, who shape its success. This year, I want to speak less about individuals and more about community, because the state of our school is only as strong as the state of our community. Now, to understand the state of our community, we have to have some awareness of who we are at our core. HMS is a community of strivers. All of us are striving towards deeper understanding, towards scientific breakthroughs, and toward a more efficient, just, and equitable healthcare system that serves the needs of all people. Now, community of strivers is defined and propelled by its strong beliefs. And when that community is large and its beliefs far-ranging, there are bound to be clashes of convictions. Our campus and many campuses around the country have been roiled by protest over the horrific events in the Middle East that commenced last October 7th. In addition, the resignation of Claudine Gay, the first Black woman president of Harvard University, also has left a wound that is still raw for many. Now, as tensions grew across the university last spring, the unfolding events precipitated conflict, pitting some students and faculty within our community against each other. We missed opportunities to listen and to learn from each other. And indeed, I and other Harvard deans, in attempting to address the concerns of all members of our community, missed opportunities to listen intently before reacting. Now, no matter your stance on the Israel-Hamas war, I ask you to keep in mind that this particular conflict elicits some of the deepest human emotions. As medical professionals and trainees, we understand that intense emotions like fear and anxiety can trigger all kinds of primal, visceral responses. We cannot engage with each other productively until such feelings and passions can be tempered by reason. Now, this requires establishing a collective sense of safety and connection through conversation, curiosity, and collaborative problem solving. Indeed, for the state of our community to be strong, we must be able to speak freely and disagree safely. We must find ways to turn the diversity of our convictions into growth and advance mutual understanding. Now, to that end, this year we have added content on civil discourse and difficult conversations into the Introduction to the Profession course for first-year medical students and into the orientation materials for graduate students. The Harvard Ombuds Office is delivering additional community workshops and activities that will bring us together for open, respectful, and constructive dialogue at regular intervals. For instance, stay tuned for details about an upcoming session for the entire HMS community, which will be facilitated by mediator Adar Cohen, which is entitled Talking Across Differences in an Era of Not Listening. The university has taken actions to ensure that all members of our community can pursue their core purpose for being here, to learn, to study, and to serve. A new set of campus use rules, articulated by a cross-university working group, has established a common baseline of policies for the use of common campus spaces. And Harvard Medical School and Harvard Dental Medicine, in the weeks to come, will be announcing supplemental rules that speak to specific use of our shared campus spaces. Now, in addition, President Alan Garber's Task Force on Institutional Voice has issued guidance stating that university leaders should no longer make official declarations about news of the day or matters that are outside the university's core function. Now, this is meant to sustain an environment that is suitable for reasoned inquiry, teaching, and research. Now, I know that many of you would like me to comment on current events, as I have on occasion in the past. Now, while doing so may appease and comfort some, I have learned a very painful lesson that my statements have the opposite effect on those whose views differ. Seeing bias in the setting of balance is a phenomenon that's well documented in the social psychology literature. Stanford professor Lee Ross has studied and reported on the asymmetries in the responses to conflict in a classic 2014 paper, accessible to all, entitled Barriers to Agreement in the Asymmetric Israeli-Palestinian Conflict. Pro-Palestinian viewers of the exact same media accounts interpreted the bias as pro-Israeli, whereas pro-Israeli observers viewing the exact same media accounts saw it as biased toward Palestinians. We must acknowledge that there will be passionate and polarized positions on complex conflicts around the globe. My foremost duty as dean is to steward a broad and pluralistic community, which requires me to create an environment bound by consistent rules and which enables all of us in our community to pursue our core mission, even amidst turmoil and divisiveness in the external world. Now, that said, I defend the passionate, respectful expression of one's beliefs, as well as the right to protest. This is protected in the existing university-wide statement on rights and responsibilities and on our HMS statement of mutual respect and public discourse. Now, at the same time, my primary responsibility at HMS is to our research, education, and clinical service missions. I cannot allow the voices of some to preclude the rights of others to receive an education and fulfill their core commitments without interruption, disruption, or harassment. Now, earlier I posited that to understand the state of our community, we have to have some awareness of who we are. So who else are we besides strivers? The late former dean for medical education, Dan Fetterman, observed that there's a delicious alchemy to this place. He was so eloquent. Indeed, a special kind of chemistry occurs when we, the people of HMS, come together in support of something greater than ourselves. I would argue, however, that what goes on at HMS has expanded beyond chemistry. We've actually become a powerful magnet for innovation and opportunity. Indeed, Harvard Medical School attracts world-renowned faculty who maintain a fundamental focus on research and translational impact. HMS attracts the most outstanding students who excel across a full spectrum of clinical and academic activities. HMS attracts assiduous postdoctoral trainees who chart the course for scientific enterprise, and HMS attracts talented staff who are absolutely instrumental in allowing us to achieve our highest ambitions. The magnetism of the HMS community renders our biomedical system gargantuan in scale and complex in structure. These qualities can have downsides. Size and scale can hinder the efficiency of care delivery. And the complexity of our multi-hospital system means that competing interests and clinical demands can sometimes siphon time away from research and teaching. But our size and scale are not so much vulnerabilities, they're strengths. They afford us resilience and durability. Complexity, too, is what enticed many of us to Harvard in the first place. We were drawn here by a palpable spirit of inquiry that compels all of us to settle for nothing less than excellence. In the past year, the magnetic quality of HMS has expressed itself in a number of ways. First, through our ability to bring people together to solve society's most pressing challenges related to health and well-being. Second, through the brilliance of star members of our community who illuminate the path ahead and they help us see around corners. And third, through our community's embrace of transformative technologies, most recently, the revolutionary ascent of artificial intelligence, which we are harnessing to accelerate every aspect of our mission. Now, before I delve into these 3 points, I want to just spend a few minutes on our finances. Over the last 8 years of my deanship, I and my administrative leadership team, led by extraordinary Executive Dean for Administration, Lisa Muto, we've made difficult decisions to reverse the longstanding trend of recurring budget deficits. Now, in the last few years, we have indeed achieved a balanced budget on our unrestricted or so-called discretionary spending accounts. However, we are now once again facing economic challenges, as many institutions are. So our financial team, led by Chief Financial Officer Julie Joncas, has warned us that without significant changes in our spending and without finding new sources of revenue, we will once again be returning to deficits. It turns out that we've been facing a perfect storm of negative financial headwinds. Inflation has compelled us to drive up personnel costs by 9% a year. We choose again and again to invest in you, our current employees, our postdocs, because we realize that cost inflation is also affecting all of your pocketbooks. But covering this very worthy expense means that we have had fewer resources left available to grow in other areas. We've also seen only weak returns on our endowment, and this, together with some post-pandemic uncertainty in income from external education, dramatic increases in our construction costs, this threatens to once again return us to a budget deficit. So it's become apparent that we may be facing up to a $37 million unrestricted cash budget shortfall this coming fiscal year. Now, while this reality is sobering, it is not a cause for panic. We have weathered more than our fair share of financial challenges at Harvard Medical School, and I have confidence that we will do so again. But all of us must continue to be responsible stewards of HMS's resources. We very much appreciate the conscientious efforts by department and unit leaders to reduce discretionary spending to below budgeted levels where possible. Centrally, we are focused on pursuing management actions to help lessen our budget shortfall and control our growth. But even amidst all of these constraints, I want to emphasize that as a community, we do enjoy significant resources. Because we are determined to continue to invest in all of the great work that you do, we are still investing tremendous amounts of school resources in our research, education, and service missions as depicted on this slide. What you'll see is the difference between expense and funding source, and you'll see that for research, our school subsidy allows us to do 39% more research. That's almost doubling of the research output. And we're on the cutting edge of so many areas because we can do more research. We invest an additional 35% in our educational programs than would otherwise be covered by tuition and fees alone. This allows us to be innovative, provide extra support services for our students. And we are able to support our administrative needs, growing administrative needs, especially those targeting HMS faculty at our 15 affiliated hospitals and research institutions, with a 37% subsidy. We can do more because we have considerable resources that are a direct result of the proceeds from our endowment and from our generous donors. And finally, I'll note that while our FY24 research spending has in fact now returned to pre-pandemic levels, even exceeding it, there was this past year only a modest 0.8% increase in the NIH budget. Now, this means that our buying power for federal support of research is effectively declining. So we have to continue to address this discrepancy by diversifying our revenue sources, pursuing additional philanthropic support, and advocating for increased federal funding of our important work. Now, on the topic of federal support, we did receive some pretty extraordinary news last fall. HMS received a grant from the newly established Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health, or ARPA-H, to convene a multi-institutional effort tackling antibiotic resistance, which has been called the so-called slow-moving pandemic. That over $100 million grant, with some $30 million coming to Harvard Medical School, is an example of the magnetic quality of our community, of which I spoke earlier. At Harvard Medical School, we summoned some of the world's greatest minds, attracting them with the appeal of immense resources, with the appeal of our collaborative energy, and our goal to solve some of society's greatest challenges. So this project was led by Professor of Systems Biology Johan Paulsen. It was an ARPA-H funded consortium of 25 research groups from California to the UK, who will develop novel microscopy, microfluidics, single-cell assays, and machine learning tools into a technology for identifying bacteria and understanding their behavior. Just think, every bacterium has a unique spectral footprint that can be observed instantly using specialized microscopes. So imagine a new clinical technology based on these microscopes. It's really allowing the Paulsen group to identify individual bacteria with exceptional speed and accuracy, which they hope is going to lead to more effective diagnosis and treatment of bacterial infections. In working with the US government to break down the barriers between academia and industry, the Paulsen-led team is betting on a bold proposition that fresh perspectives on age-old questions can yield transcendent solutions. Indeed, HMS is a magnet that brings people together to reignite urgency around areas of escalating concern. Here, hope is born from novelty, and reward arises from calculated risk. And at HMS, our ability to bring collective resources, those significant resources, to bear on a variety of healthcare issues is unparalleled. For example, Harvard Medical School has launched ambitious clinical education innovations like the Sexual and Gender Minority Health Equity Initiative, which has aggregated a rich curriculum as well as a sense of community around LGBTQ+ health and well-being. Indeed, our educational system has put a priority on training our medical students to be highly skilled in addressing the needs of all patients. With more than 1/3 of gender minority adults avoiding necessary medical care because of previous experiences of stigma and discrimination in healthcare spaces, Harvard Medical School is committed to ensuring that all physicians are equipped to provide affirming care to our LGBTQ patients. Our ability to bring people together extends to community health centers as well. In July, the Institute for Health Equity Research, Evaluation, and Policy of the Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers received a joint grant from the Harvard and the Legacy of Slavery Initiative's inaugural Reparative Partnership Program. The grant supports projects that address systemic inequities affecting descendant communities who have been harmed by the long shadow of slavery. The HMS Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Partnership, under the phenomenal leadership of Dean Joan Reed, is the designated Harvard partner for this grant, and it will collaborate with the Institute as well as Brockton Neighborhood Health Center and Codman Square Health Center to invest in community-led scholarship at community health centers. To excavate the root causes of health inequalities, we have to partner with these community health centers, which have long served communities that have too long been underserved. And this is extraordinary and important work. HMS is also a magnet for fundamental research locally and healthcare delivery globally. Locally, the newly established Jean Lay Institute of Immunology and Inflammation is catalyzing interdisciplinary dialogue across Brigham and Women's, Mass General, and Harvard Medical School to comprehend the protean role of inflammation in diseases that affect millions. Globally, the Paul Farmer Collaborative, an alliance between Harvard Medical School and the University of Global Health Equity in Rwanda, is developing and sustaining global healthcare delivery. And our Office for Research Initiatives and Global Programs has signed collaborative agreements in research and education with institutions on the other side of the world, including Vietnam and Korea. Our students channel their energies into global efforts too. Take Akwi Asombang, a Master of Science in Bioethics student who co-founded the Pan-African Organization for Health Education and Research. For her efforts mentoring African medical students and early career doctors, Akwi received the 2024 Global Mentorship Recognition Award from the Medical Women's International Association. Akwi is an interventional gastroenterologist and director of global health in gastroenterology at MGH. And let's acknowledge Sanjana Rane, an exceptional MD, MBA student from Louisville, Kentucky, as a global convener of resources for communities of women affected by domestic violence. I'm aware that Akwi is in Zambia right now, but if Sanjana is here, if you're here, I would ask you to stand and be recognized. Thank you. So Akwi and Sanjana, they show us that HMS is a magnet, uniting multi-regional, multinational, multi-ethnic, and multidisciplinary communities. Coming together in this way pushes our excellence, our inclusive excellence. By this we mean our principled, thoughtful commitment to diversity, inclusion, and belonging, which allows our entire community to thrive. On that note, I imagine that many of you are no doubt wondering about the effect of the Supreme Court's rejection of affirmative action on the demographics of this year's incoming medical student class. The HMS MD class of 2028 had a 3.2% acceptance rate from some 7,000 applicants, with 75% of accepted students matriculating here. That's the highest yield of any medical school in the country. Now, once again, we have welcomed a class of exceptional scholarly achievement and tremendous promise. However, the percentage of the entering class comprised of students from backgrounds that are traditionally underrepresented in medicine was only 17%. Now that's lower than the most recent years, 20 to 23, when that percentage ranged somewhere between 20 and 25%. Now other schools have seen a similar and sometimes starker pattern. MIT reported last month a decrease in the percentage of URIM students in their entering undergraduate class from 25% down to 16%. Now, it is difficult to be certain about the exact reasons for this decline. Certainly, some of it is attributed to a slightly lower number of URIM applicants in our pool. But the impact of that SCOTUS ruling is clear. And this much is indisputable. We need to do more to recruit the most talented URIM students to HMS. The percentage of underrepresented students who accepted our offer of admission this year was only 58%. Now, in the last 5 years, the percentage of URIM students who have accepted our offer of admission has varied between 50 and 60%. Now, that is significantly lower than our overall yield of 75%, which has been stable over the same period of time. And we know from surveys of students who turn us down, the number one deterrent for students seeking to come here is the high cost of our education. Our aspiration is simple. No student admitted to Harvard Medical School should ever have to decide which medical school to attend based on cost. We do have a strong financial aid program. Last year, we provided $21.4 million in total financial aid for MD students. Now, that places us among the top 5 most generous, need-based financial aid programs in the country. And yet, more and more of our peers are offering debt-free, or in some cases, tuition-free education. So it is imperative for us to acquire greater support for financial aid, and we are motivated to raise philanthropy to help us realize the dream of debt-free medical education for our students. Now, it's worth noting that in the past year, HMS and Harvard more generally has been the subject of targeted campaigns from those seeking to undermine and invalidate our dedication to being a destination and a launching pad for people of all backgrounds. Please know this. Harvard Medical School embraces the wide array of experiences that every single one of you brings to this mission. We value every single one of you, and we care about you and how you enrich our community. Likewise, our mission at HMS is to alleviate suffering, not just for a select few, but for all. Our profession is founded on this very premise, that every person deserves to be treated with dignity. No matter who the patient is, their country of origin, their race, their political ideology, their gender identity, our solemn duty as medical doctors is to safeguard that person's health and well-being. We leave our politics at the door the moment we walk into the clinic. That's because we have made a pact with society to treat all patients to the very best of our ability. Medicine hasn't always honored this pact, but Harvard Medical School takes up the mantle of health equity with pride and with resolve. And because scientific discovery and clinical service require us to be skilled deliberators in addition to critical independent thinkers, we've arranged symposia at Countway Library to highlight and discuss research published in the New England Journal of Medicine, including authored by many HMS faculty, on the historical roots of injustice in medicine. The next event in the series is scheduled for October 16th. Mark your calendars. Now, gatherings like this help us to grapple with our past. They help us to engage in the moral practice of learning together, and they are crucial vehicles for our students and our trainees to develop the social awareness, the professionalism, and the cultural competencies that will make them compassionate and outstanding doctors. Now, on the topic of social science, scholarship in healthcare policy is increasingly central to our mission, especially as the US healthcare system faces myriad persistent threats, rising costs, a stringently regulated reimbursement environment, economic concerns about the expansion of private equity in takeovers of hospitals. So to carry forward on our research in this area, I was delighted to announce a few weeks ago that Nicole Maestas, the Margaret T. Morris Professor of Healthcare Policy, will assume the role of chair of the HMS Department of Healthcare Policy effective November 1st. I think Nicole is on crutches, but if she's here, please. Oh, yes, she will stand. Thank you, Nicole. Now, by combining new data sources with innovative study designs, Nicole imbues rigor and nuance and depth into her research on the economics of disability insurance, labor markets, healthcare systems, and population aging. In Nicole, the department will have a stalwart leader and a discerning advocate for policy-oriented healthcare insights. Now, my sincerest gratitude goes to Barbara McNeil, who founded and has led our Department of Healthcare Policy since 1988. That's 36 years, if I'm doing the math right. Barbara, I hope Barbara is here. Through her exceptional service, Barbara created an enduring legacy. She built a rock-solid foundation for the department. We all owe Barbara such a debt. Indeed, we are really fortunate to be home to many star community members who light up our campus. Take Associate Professor of Microbiology, Jonathan Abraham. The son of Haitian immigrants, he attended an under-resourced high school in New York City. On a whim, he applied to a program that placed him on the Harvard campus for a summer. And lucky for us, he has never left. He went on to pursue an MD, PhD at HMS. He did a residency at the Brigham, fellowship in the infectious diseases at the Brigham and Women's Hospital and Mass General. That's preparation H all the way. At his HMS lab, which he started in 2017, he and his team study how viruses infect cells and replicate their genomes. He played a critical role as a faculty co-leader of a mass CPR working group, and he continues to uncover pivotal clues for pandemic preparedness. His lab's work on the virology of equine encephalitis has been especially relevant recently amid amplified risk in the New England area of a potentially deadly type of mosquito-borne encephalitis. Now, this July, Jonathan was named an investigator of the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. That's one of the highest honors and privileges that can be accorded to a scientist. Jonathan joins 4 others from the Harvard Medical School community as newly minted HHMI investigators. And congratulations to all of them, as well as the 6 HMS faculty who were elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences this year. All of you make us proud. Now, I'm told that Jonathan is teaching at the moment, could not be here, but if there are any other of you who are the new HHMI investigators or have been the AAAS honorees, if you're present, please stand. We'd like to recognize and congratulate you. Steve. Arlene. Big celebration this weekend at the induction. So the reason we do basic science research is not only because we're curious about the world, but we want to demystify the world. We want to anchor it in logic and truth, and to identify the real causes of society's ailments. Unfortunately, in our public discourse, that's been all too rare recently. HMS scientists have found a shared biological basis for cognitive impairment in schizophrenia and aging. They're at the forefront of a renaissance in the biology of touch, and they've published work estimating the effects of race-neutral lung function testing on patients. Our researchers demonstrate day in and day out that basic science is brave science, that it builds grand bridges towards new terrain. Now, to ensure that there's useful infrastructure waiting for us on the other side of that bridge, we're integrating therapeutics discovery into our community. We're continuing to inject therapeutics competencies into our educational mission. A new master's program in therapeutics will commence next fall. This is one of 2 new master's programs on the horizon, the other being in clinical research. The Blavatnik Harvard Life Lab, Longwood, is currently at 70% capacity, which is a normal steady state for regional incubators. And finally, Skylark, which is the company that is shepherding the Bertarelli Professor of Translational Medical Science, David Corey's gene therapy, for hearing loss and other devastating neurological conditions, Skylark is succeeding. It's graduating out of the Blavatnik Life Lab and it's moving into custom lab space. So it's important to note that our science is empowered by collaborations with biotech, pharma, robotics, AI companies, particularly through the new Harvard Enterprise Research Campus, which is currently being built in Austin, and the Kempner Institute for the Study of Natural and Artificial Intelligence. The Kempner launched in 2022 on the premise that comprehending the brain's architecture can lead to enhanced design of compute architecture. Now, creative and cautious implementation of AI is already boosting clinical efficiency, it's augmenting the scientific method, and it's accelerating therapeutics discovery, and it's enhancing medical education right here on our campus. Now, in the past year, we've been gearing up to make the most of this remarkable inflection point in human history. Most recently, Assistant Professor of Biomedical Informatics, Marinka Zitnik, led the development of a new AI model called Pinnacle that illuminates how surrounding cells and tissues influence protein behaviors involved in sustaining health and fueling disease. This model represents a major step forward and could turbocharge researchers' ability to identify drug targets. There's also the BioPlex project, an effort to profile protein-protein interactions for all human proteins, led by professors of cell biology Steve Gygi, the chair of cell biology Wade Harper, and instructor in cell biology Ed Hutland. They will describe in an upcoming paper an exciting outcome of this work, a structural view of the entire human interactome. It's a remarkable achievement made possible in part by applications of the AI tool AlphaFold. And last but not least, the Paul Farmer Professor and Chair of Global Health and Social Medicine, Vikram Patel, is employing AI-based psychiatric tools to predict the effects of adverse childhood experiences. Now, on the education side, we're preparing students to become future leaders who employ AI to meet the public health goals of the next half century. We've developed a PhD track for AI in medicine within the Department of Biomedical Informatics, chaired by the inimitable Zach Kahane. We've designed a course on AI in medicine for entering HST students, who we anticipate will engineer many new AI applications in bioscience and healthcare. Students in our Pathways program are using large language models in the classroom as tutors. And our Office for External Education offered a course in natural language processing to the entire HMS community for free, and the course ended up with more than 800 students enrolled. Our embrace of AI is like a gravity assist. Just as a spacecraft might fly alongside a planet and use its gravity to slingshot in a new direction, that's what we're doing. We're executing a similar flyby. We're capturing the gravitational power of AI, and we're harnessing it as our own. The Dean's Innovation Awards for the use of artificial intelligence represent one of the first steps in that flyby maneuver. Administered to support applications of generative AI in research, education, and administrative efficiency, we have awarded $2.2 million across 33 projects, many of which are already underway. Now, these projects exemplify the tremendous power of AI. From the Otto Kreyer Professor of Systems Pharmacology, Peter Sorger's work on generative AI for personalized education in tissue biology and pathology, to Associate Professor of Neurobiology Kanaka Rajan's innovative research alongside postdocs Ryan Badman and Satpreet Singh to decode how the brain generalizes information. I want to call out one project I'm particularly enthusiastic about. It's being directed by a team of 6 staff members: Megan Halligan, Margaret Ivins, Harold Lamakis, Marie Bao, Trisha Sardesai, and Vonda Shannon. I believe some of you are here today. Will you please stand if you're here? Yes. Fantastic. All right. Now, this team is using generative AI to remove administrative hurdles during the onboarding process for academic personnel. You all have felt this. And they are sparking connection and collaboration across our community with an end goal to ensure that once people are pulled into our orbit, they get here easily and then they want to stay. So indeed, the state of our school is only as strong as the state of our community. The way we attend to one another determines everything about the extent of our success. That's why I organized several community breakfasts last spring. I wanted to hear from all of you about how we can foster community at HMS. I'm going to be holding more of these breakfasts this coming academic year. Following the completion of the West Commons atrium, the newly minted Bertarelli building, as well as Gordon Hall, which is scheduled to reopen post-renovation sometime in February, this will ground our sense of community. It will bring us together. Now, I want to speak to those of you at our affiliated hospitals and research institutions. We acknowledge the financial challenges that are faced by these hospitals. We're under a currently heavily regulated healthcare reimbursement climate, and we at HMS have been following very closely the integration of the hospital systems. We know that the changes underway, particularly at the Mass General Brigham, are no doubt sources of stress for many of our faculty, and that this has put a strain on all of your pursuit of your academic goals. Please know that I am working on your behalf. As Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, I am advocating on your behalf and to coordinate with hospital leadership to address these challenges. It is astounding to me that the volume and scale of clinical and basic research at our affiliate hospitals exceeds that of many entire countries. So I promise you, it is important to me that our faculty at our affiliate hospitals are able to thrive here. Indeed, Harvard Medical School's relationship with our affiliated institutions is predicated on the notion that when our hospitals are strong, Harvard Medical School is strong, and when Harvard Medical School is strong, our hospitals are strong. We are mutually codependent. Now more than ever, we have to lean into that synergy because this is the greatest healthcare community in the world. Now, in closing today, I want to make clear that to maintain our unmatched reputation, we need to enforce the highest standards for our medical students' clinical endeavors. Dean for Medical Education Bernard Chang and I are planning a return to more thorough assessments of knowledge acquisition for our students, so that when they graduate, their impressive command of medicine will distinguish them in their residency programs and with their future patients. A recent JAMA study by Professor of Healthcare Policy Bruce Landon showed that in a sample of almost 7,000 physicians, higher scores on the internal medicine certification boards were associated with significantly better patient outcomes, including significantly induced mortality and readmission rates. Another study this year demonstrated that physicians with higher scores on the US medical licensing exams were associated with significant reductions in in-hospital mortality for their patients. As an evidence-based institution, we need to heed these results. We need to take them seriously. Our trainees must be in firm command of a large compendium of facts, detailed medical knowledge, in order to improve patient outcomes. And our residency programs must be able to determine which of our graduating students is performing at the highest level in this regard. This is what we can and we will do at HMS. We will press onward with our rigorous discovery science, with our teaching and our learning and our care delivery, with the awareness that a mind empowered with great medical fluency is a mind that can advance the health and well-being of our patients, even in the most trying of circumstances. So I look forward to ensuring that our Harvard Medical School graduates are the most capable and compassionate doctors. Now, I wish to conclude by first stating how incredibly proud I am of all of you, of the remarkable work that you do. It's why we're here. You are our community. Because of you, the state of Harvard Medical School is strong. So I want to thank you for being here today. I want to say that if you have any questions or comments, please find me on the quadrangle. I'll be out there with you. I'm happy to answer them. But let's take the afternoon to enjoy our community, and we'll see you on the quad. Let's party.